Batman! Now let's take a look at the new releases this week. Hello, and welcome to Parents Guide to Games. My name is Stefan. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're looking for the PlayStation VR 2 game list, that'll be coming out in the next couple days. Now let's take a look at the new releases, including Atomic Hearts, and they're coming out on February 21st, 2023. The first game on the list is Akka Arrh. This is coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is R110 and up. Content descriptions, language, mild fantasy violence. This is an arcade-style space shooter which players control a spaceship defending a station from incoming enemies. Players follow small weapons and abstract and stylized enemies, resulting in colorful explosions. Players can shoot projectiles directly at enemies or launch bombs to eliminate multiple enemies in a cascading effect. Swear words appear in-game. The next game on the list is Atomic Heart. This is coming on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The rating is mature. Content descriptions, blood and gore, intense violence, language, and nudity. This is a first-person shooter game that's set in an alternative version of the Soviet Union, in which players take on the role of a special agent that must fight back against rogue robots. The game features graphic violence. The use of large-caliber weapons can result in limbs being blasted off and heads exploding. There's also strong language. The next game on the list is Like a Dragon Inshi. This is coming on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The rating is mature. Content descriptions, blood, strong language, suggestive theme, use of alcohol, and violence. This is an adventure game in which players assume the role of a man searching for his father's killer in Edo, Japan. Players explore open-world environments, interact with characters, infiltrate gangs, and engage in frantic combat with rivals and enemies. Characters mostly use swords and pistols to slash and shoot each other. Some sequences prompt players to box or punch their way through fights. Combat is highlighted by gunfire, screams of pain, and large blood splatter effects. Some cutscenes depict slow motion effects as characters are stabbed. The game contains suggestive material. A minigame depicting Sakamoto in his underwear shooting a heart that is moaning sounds are heard. A minigame depicting videos of female figures posing suggestively. Close-up camera angles of cleavage. Player characters can also engage in a drinking game, attempting to keep Sakamoto's hands steady while consuming sake. Swear words appear in-game. Now we're taking a look at Blood Bowl 3. This is on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is teen. Content descriptions, blood, mild language, use of alcohol, and violence. This is a turn-based strategy game in which players control and manage a football team consisting of fantasy creatures. From a top-down perspective, players can take turns rolling dice to move the ball and players around the field. To prevent opponents from scoring, players can use a variety of punches and kicks, knocking out and killing some opposing team members. Some attacks are highlighted by quick cutscenes, bludgeoning opponents with fists, charging opponents with horn attack, using a chainsaw to kill an opponent. Blood splatter effects occur as players are injured. Bloodstains linger on the field after attacks. The game depicts characters drinking beer in commercial and drinking mugs from a beer keg. Swear words appear in the dialogue. Next on our list is Company of Heroes 3. It's coming on PC. The rating is mature. The content descriptions, blood and gore, strong language, violence. This is a real-time strategy game in which players lead an army into battle in Italy and North Africa during World War II. From a top-down perspective, players combat military units across various battlefields. Soldiers use machine guns, flamethrowers, and explosions to kill enemies in frantic combat. Firefights are highlighted by realistic gunfire, blood puffs, and explosions. Some explosions and mortar attacks cause soldiers to break apart, with depictions of blood and or body parts on the ground. Swear words are heard in-game. The next game is Clive N Wrench. This is coming on PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The ratings are 110 and up. The content descriptions, fantasy violence. This is an adventure platformer in which players assume the role of Clive and his monkey Wrench on a quest to stop an evil villain. From a third-person's perspective, players traverse holiday-themed lands, use spin attacks and wrenches to attack enemies. Enemies generally break apart into pieces or disappear amid puffs of smoke. Some battle sequences are frantic, with enemies using guns, swords, and spears against player characters. One sequence, players fly a fighter plane and use a cartoony machine gun to shoot down enemies. The next game on our list is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. This is coming on Nintendo Switch. The rating is everyone 10 and up. The content descriptions, fantasy violence. This is a side-scrolling adventure platformer in which players assume the role of Kirby, a small, round character trying to help an alien. Players traverse whimsical levels and use cartoony weapons and skills to defeat robots, dragons, and boss characters. Fights can be frantic at times with gunfire sounds, missile and bomb explosions, screen shaking effects, and cries of pain. Enemies disappear into puffs of smoke when defeated. Minigames contain additional acts of fantasy violence, aiming and shooting projectiles at targets or opponents. Samurai-like duels, players use fans and pies to hit opponents. And last game on today's list with a full description is Octopath Traveler 2. This is coming out on PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The rating is teen. The content descriptions: fantasy violence, mild blood, mild language, suggestive themes, use of alcohol, and tobacco. This is a role-playing game in which players follow the stories of 8 characters in a fantasy world. From a top-down perspective, players explore towns while interacting with figures, battling enemies. Combat is turn-based, with players selecting attack moves from a menu, then watch characters perform brief actions on screen. Characters use spears, swords, and elemental attacks to deplete opponents' health bars. Battles are highlighted by impact sounds and cries of pain. Cutscenes sometimes depict small, defenseless characters killed by bladed weapons. Swords or bags are sometimes depicted with bloodstains. The game contains suggestive material, a female character designed with low-cut clothing and deep cleavage, and dialogue. Characters are sometimes depicted drinking liquor and or hiccuping and drunk. One scene depicts a character smoking a cigarette. Swear words appear in-game. And the rest of the games on today's list are also coming out, but no information was available. Thank you to bensound.com for the music track. Please follow Parents Guide to Games on YouTube at Parents Guide to Games, on Facebook at Parents Guide to Games, on Twitter at ParentsG2G, and email any questions or concerns at parentsg2g@gmail.com. And always, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.